Hi, welcome back to the channel and another video on the Rover 75. It's a day after the Festival of the Unexceptional, hence bright red face. It's gone down a little bit overnight, but a bit breezy, on and off sun all day. I think most people went back looking like tomatoes. But now today I'm going to get on with the fan first and try and repair that. See what happens there. At least I've got nothing to lose. Take it to pieces. If it's knackered, it's knackered. Start looking for a new one. Then I'm going to look at getting the gearbox out and the subframe and everything else off to drop the clutch out, which I've now got. It's arrived, so I've got memory like a goldfish, so I don't want to take too many things off whilst I'm still waiting for parts, and put them together put them back together as I get parts. At least that way I don't forget where I am. So see how we get on today, and fingers crossed I can make some progress. I decided to have a look at the fan. If you've seen in the last video, there was a lot of play in it. It's annoying because quite often they electrically fail. I replaced this not that long ago, and then it started knocking a bit and a bit of play in it and it clattering around. Now, there's no real right or wrong way. Take it apart, see if you can fix it. It's already broke anyway. I've since found out that I was struggling to get the fan off the motor because the nut in the centre is literally to hold it still while you twist the fan on. There's like a three-fingered little pawl that you put in and it twists and locks in. I found that out by accident, but it came off okay. Now I've stripped the motor, and there was about probably 2mm play in the end bush. The end of the motor and the shaft's 8mm, and the bush had 1 out of 10, so there's 2mm play at the back of the motor, which then amplifies for the diameter. It's exaggerated, sorry, by the diameter of the fan. Now, this is what I was on about. I took the sticker off. You can see the 3 slots, and the 3 slots, and the little triangle. So basically, you put it in, hold it still, and then twist it. It unlocks it out of the fan. Now, I didn't film it because it was all a bit hit and miss, but it worked quite well. Split these joints all the way around. Once you got the fan off, it was dead easy. And then inside, it's all clean and all right. But the rear spindle, let's find it somewhere. Or not. Yeah, well. Anyway, the rear bush inside here is held in. It's just a little like round ball with a hole through the centre, and it had worn quite badly, so it was allowing movement. But there's a spring clip inside there that clamps it in place. So I had a bit of a look online and measured a couple of bits, and it turns out that a little bearing fits the inside the clamp part really well, and is perfect size. So if you need to do this, is Z809 bearing, and it fit in perfectly. Just cut off the tabs that hold the ball in place, and then you've got a nice good bearing, good motor again. Now to obviously put it all back together and test it, and that'll decide whether it's a good repair or not. It's actually supported, it's in the right place, and it's slightly more resistance on than it had before. I'm hoping that's not because it's too tight, but I don't think it is. Everything went together correctly. We'll see. No to lose, it was already broke. Not doing a lot of filming because the wind's too high. You can probably hear it if I step back a bit. Every time I'm do anything, the bloody wind picks up. Right, I've rebuilt the front end for the fan, put it back together, and we're going to see now if it works. There's definitely less play on it. There's a bit because it's a big plastic fan, but it's no longer hitting the cowling as it spins. So I'll start her up, even though it's in bits, you can still start it. Brake pads warning, ABS warning, yeah, all of the above, because everything's in bits. Right. Okay, it's not on at the minute, just the aircon's not on, so if I press the button that turns the aircon on, and then we'll go and see what happens. When it was doing that before, it was rattling and clattering against the cowling, so that's a good free fix. I say free, about £2 for the bearing. But considering the fans are getting thin on the ground now, that still work, I'm quite pleased with that. Because that was the only big problem with it, that was going to be a stumbling block. And getting another one of those that worked. But a bit of faffing, a bit of luck, and a bit of, I believe it's make do and mend, as they used to say in the olden days. Yeah, £2 for a bearing. We'll just see how long it lasts. Can't see why it won't do. It's a metal sealed bearing, so there's no reason it's going to be overheating or getting any grief or anything. It literally sits in the back behind there, where it has done for all its life with no bearing. Would have issued a little silver bush at the time. So yeah, been a little bush in the back running on the shaft, and that's now got a proper ball bearing in the back of it, so I'm quite pleased with that. The plan originally was, see the wind's picked up again. The plan originally was to get the gearbox out, which I may still do, because there's nothing really in there now. But let's just make sure it's nice and cold in here. Yeah, even through my gloves that's icy cold. Yeah, it's freezing cold. It's a 2-speed fan, so what I might do is just wait for it to kick in on its 2nd speed and make sure it don't do anything daft. No idea how long it'll be, so I'll pause this for a second. The fact it's not rattling, that was a problem it had before. So in theory, job's a good one. Get the front end back together now. It's a few hours later, the wind's been too much for filming, so I really do need to get a microphone. But having said that, we've made a bit of progress. As I saw earlier, the fan's now working. I'll get the lights cleaned up before putting the bumper back on. But the subframe's off now. Surprisingly easy. It's amazing that a car this age, not a single bolt has sheared off anywhere, and everything I need to take out now is either loose or out already. Just strap the steering rack up out of the way so you don't have to disturb that. Drop the exhaust off, and then it's literally just last couple of bolts around the bell housing that are holding it in at the moment, and drop it out. The input, a handy little hook on the top for you to support it on. So I'll get the engine crane out. Once that's, well, lower it on that. Once the wood engine's on blocks low enough, I'll drop it onto there and drop the gearbox down. Whilst that's there, that will free up this gap here, so I can do the coolant leak. So I can't do anything else more tonight, because if I'll drop the gearbox, that means I've got about another, I'll have to do the clutch, put the gearbox back in, and also do the water leak down there. I'd rather just leave the crane out whilst I put the clutch in, then put it straight back, which won't be tonight. I shall try and put this together and get it out tonight. Then there's one a week, as helpful. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, but not a lot of visual progress. As I give these a quick polish up. I did them before, but they're good. Give them a quick freshen up, polish around the eyes on the bumper, so when you put it back together, you've got in the bits you can't get at. I had a dig at this corner. Never poke a rusty hole, otherwise you end up with a hole. But it's weird because everything else absolutely rock solid, which is good because it gives you something nice to weld to. There's an internal structure behind that there, which again is all solid. It just seems to be a water trap, and they all go there. There's a guy who makes panels that fit roughly sort of there up to there and do this entire piece, because it's the only piece that's really badly rusts on them, as far as I'm aware. Problem is, it's going to be matching up this underseal finish to get that correct when it's sprayed, because otherwise it'll look like it's been repaired, and I don't want that. Oop, there you go again. Never poke a crusty bit. But it's got to come off anyway. There's no way I'm leaving it bodged or half done. You see that? In fact, it's all full of wax inside. It's all full of factory wax, look. But yeah, it's still rusted in that corner. But everything else around it's perfect. The other side's perfect. So it's just one little bit that they suffer with, unfortunately. Otherwise, they don't deserve the badge of a Rover, because they don't rust. Everything else is absolutely perfect. And it's literally barring the dirt. Everything else all underneath. All the bolts came out, everything that holds the exhaust. There's like cross braces across the tunnel, they all came out properly. Everything. Bizarre. But no, that'll do for now anyway. I'll stick the front bumper back on with a couple of bolts just so it's out of my way, because, thank you, the shed's full, the garage is starting to get full, and I've got to find a home for the subframe now, which I think I'll just stagger into there, because it's quite heavy. What I'll do before I put it back on is I'll bolt the bottom wishbones on, because these bolts are, although they're accessible, they're a lot easier to access now, and they're not very heavy anyway, because they're all aluminium. So right, that'll do me for tonight. I'll get this put together, and I'll see you in another one. Hopefully next time I'll be the gearbox out. I'll do a bit more filming with that, because the wind's dropped now, but earlier on it was just blowing a gale, so you wouldn't have been able to hear anything. So thanks again. See you again. Cheers. Bye.